What's going on, guys? I'm Ghosty Russ, and today I'm going to be talking to you about why Halloween 2007 by Rob Zombie is the perfect remake.
Russell, I never want to hear those words out of your mouth again.
Halloween.
It's a very serious business.
Before you get too carried away, at least let me make my point. So obviously, this movie was written and directed by none other than Rob Zombie.
See, he's a big, flamboyant character, like a peacock,
who is known for such classics such as House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and The Lords of Salem, just to name a few. Now, while I've heard some personal friends of mine talk about Rob Zombie style as being trashy, and I can agree with that,
bitch, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you!
Oh, I'll get the crutches for you!
I do think that it was beneficial for this film. One thing I really love that Rob did was that he actually remade the movie into something that was different than the original source material. Now, if you compare this to other horror remakes that came out around the same time, within the span of a few years, it's far better than the Friday the 13th remake that came out in 2009, and it's far better than the Nightmare on Elm Street remake that came out in 2010.
This whole herd, one little bit.
Now, I think that those other films probably did look at Rob Zombie's Halloween, and they tried to kind of capture that same magic. However, they failed because they were retelling the same story. They didn't really change much of it unless it was, maybe the time frame in which it was set in or something like that. But those small details aren't enough to change the movie and make it a good remake. I do think that Rob knew exactly what he was doing when he came to making this movie, because it adds a lot of things that we never really got to see in the original 1978 film, and it adds a lot of new sides to the story. For example, Michael growing up in a broken home with a stripper for a mom and an abusive stepfather with a sister who treats him like shit, coupled with the fact that he's bullied by the motherfucker from Spy Kids.
Wait! I'm sorry.
And of course his growing problem with killing animals and taking pictures of their dead bodies. It honestly explains so much about why Michael became what he became. Now, I do want to go over the pros and cons. I'll start out with the cons because I don't want to make it seem like I'm just sucking off this movie. So, starting off the cons, as I mentioned before, Michael was bullied by Junie from Spy Kids, and Junie cuts through the woods, and Michael pops out from behind a tree and seemingly kills him. This is never confirmed, but it is also never mentioned again. It's never referenced, like any of that. I would at least think that somebody would have found Junie before it got that late on Halloween. Like, what were his parents thinking?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
They just thought it was normal for him to just not come home. And that kill perfectly segues me into the next con, which is that a good chunk of the kills, at least in the first half of the movie, are not really kills that you feel bad about. They were all people that acted really shitty towards Michael. Honestly, the turning point doesn't come until he kills Danny Trejo, who was the one person who was really good to him. Honestly, the last con that I can think of is that maybe they spent a little too much time on kind of the younger years of Michael. And while I do like a further in-depth kind of explanation as to why Michael became the monster that he became, maybe some of it was a bit unnecessary. But again, this is a retelling of the story. Same characters, different story. And that leads me to the first of my pros, and that is that this is a beautiful retelling. Honestly, Rob does something with the characters, and he turns them and spins them in his own way, and I think that it's absolutely beautiful. Everything from the casting to the kind of just the attitudes that each character has is absolutely perfect, and Rob is a master of capturing a certain vibe in his films, and I think that this story mixed with his style was just a match made in heaven. Another pro of mine is that Tyler Mane is an absolute fucking monster. I mean, the dude is literally the tallest person to ever play Michael Myers, standing at 6'8". And while that is drastically different from the 5'10" Nick Castle that we had in the 1978 film, it perfectly suits this movie. It turns Michael into a monster. Michael is this unstoppable force, and he's so intimidating, and it gives the movie an edge that it didn't have before, but perfectly fits Rob Zombie's style. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm a mask collector. Got this mask, which is my mask, and I've got all these guys. This one right here is a 2007 Rob Zombie Michael Myers, gifted to me by my amazing friend and tattoo artist Tyler Isom, so big shout out, because that was definitely a big inspiration for this video. But a big thing for me is that this mask in this movie is amazing. And I'm not talking about the sculpt or the look of it, while I also do love the look of Michael's mask. I'm also referencing the way it ages. It ages and rots like a latex mask would rot. It yellows, it dry rots, it cracks, and this continues on into Halloween 2, which I will be doing a video on. When it literally starts breaking off, people are ripping off pieces of the mask in that movie. It's something that may not be a huge detail for a lot of people, but for me, it was definitely a pro. Especially compared to the H40 mask, some of the aspects of the aged mask in H40 seem a little too much like actual aging, where there are wrinkles in the mask now, whereas with latex it really doesn't do that over time. So that kind of threw me off, but I do really enjoy that mask as well. Back to the point, I think the mask and the way that Rob had the mask age definitely helped my opinion of the movie, but it also added a cool story on how Michael got his mask. Because in the 1978 film, there are some things that Michael does that don't make a ton of sense, such as driving cars, stealing a mask from the hardware store. This offers a different explanation on how Michael got his mask. It was a mask that he stashed away in the house when he committed the murders, and when he came home, he retrieved it.
My God, are you still talking?
Overall, you may or may not agree with me. If you did or did not, leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought. But I appreciate you hearing me out, and thank you guys for watching. I hope that I've swayed some of your opinions, and I hope some people agree. I am Ghosty Russ. Again, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.
What a bitch.